Howdy, everybody. Welcome to Liberty Call. Today is Thursday, September 12th, 2024. Hope you're having a great day out there in the interwebs. Beautiful day here in Colorado. Lots of sun. It's a little warmer today than we would normally like, but we'll take it. Anyways, hope you're having a great day out there. And before we get started, if you could do me a favor, give me some thumbs up, a like, share, subscribe, follow, and press the notification bell. All right. Well, let's go ahead and hop into the numbers. Dow Jones was up 0.58% today, 235 points, closed at 41,096. If I recall, it was in the red this morning. S&P 500 up 0.75%, 41 points, closed at 55.95. NASDAQ up 1.02%, 176 points, closed at 17,572. The VIX fell 3.34% today. It's at 1710. Canada up 1.14%, Brazil down 0.36%, and Mexico up 1.46%. Headed over to Europe, Germany was up 1.03%, the UK up 0.57%, France up 0.52%, the Netherlands up 0.99%, Spain up 1.08%, Italy up 0.84%, Switzerland up 0.56%, and Portugal up 0.18%. Russian exchanges both red again today. The MOEX down 1.86%, RTSI down 1.7%. And the Asian markets, the Nikkei in Japan was up 3.55%, big jump today. Australia up 1.1%, New Zealand up 1.58%. In China, the Shanghai was down 0.17%, Shenzhen Component down 0.63%, China A50 down 0.45%, DJ Shanghai down 0.24%, Hang Seng up 0.77%, and the Taiwan weighted when it last closed was down 0.16%. All right, that's everything in the markets across the globe. Astros are in the top of the ninth. They've managed to take a lead. A's had tied it back up at 2, and in the bottom of the 8th, the good guys scored 4. So that's always good. All right, let's get to the market recap. S&P 500 shrugs off inflation surprise as focus shifts to the Fed. Yeah, because the PPI numbers, which we're going to get into in a little bit, they came in hotter than expected, which, that's why I said the market was in the red this morning. I think a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, inflation is still really high in some areas. So maybe we're not going to get the rate cut but I'm sure the Fed or whoever came out and said, oh, calm down. It's all right. All righty, let's get in here. S&P 500 closed higher on Thursday, despite higher than expected producer price data, as focus shifted to the anticipated Federal Reserve interest rate cut next week. The producer price index for final demand rose by 0.2% in August, surpassing the 0.1% estimate. Over the past 12 months, PPI increased by 1.7%, down from 2.1 in July, while PPI exceeded expectations. Soft components in the report, such as nursing care and portfolio management, suggest easing price pressures, which could influence the Federal Reserve's inflation measure of the PCE. The Fed is widely expected to cut interest rates at its upcoming meeting, but uncertainty remains whether it'll opt for a 25 basis point cut or the more aggressive 50 basis points. Recent inflation data strengthens the case for only a 0.25 point cut. All right. Moderna stock fell more than 12% after cutting its revenue forecast and research and development budget, citing recent commercial challenges. Boeing gained 1% despite a potential strike by 30,000 workers in the Pacific Northwest over wage demands. Yep. Yeah. Because you got to make more money, folks. Meanwhile, Warner Brothers Discovery and Charter Communications reached a multi-year agreement integrating linear video and, streaming services. That's not good. Just gave up a home run. So now it's 6-3. And wrapping up here, Alaska Air lifted its Q3 outlook, driving gains in airline stocks, while Wells Fargo fell 4% after the Office of Comptroller of Currency flagged deficiencies in its financial crime risk management practices, restricting the bank's expansion into high-risk areas. All right, so that's everything in the recap for today. Let's dive into some of the PPI data for August. This comes to us via First Trust, and Mr. Andrew Opdyke is who put this together. All right. Producer prices grew modestly in August, with year-over-year comparisons continuing to ease after rising earlier in 2024. However, energy prices have significantly influenced these slower inflation readings, and excluding this volatile component reveals that the Federal Reserve still has challenges ahead. Despite this, it is widely expected that the Fed will begin cutting interest rates next week, likely with the first of several anticipated 25 basis point cuts. In August, headline producer prices increased by 0.2% and were up 1.7% over the past year. The inflation reading was tempered by a 0.9% decline in energy prices, which are down 8.4% from a year ago. And I do know, and I know I've talked about this, is that oil prices have come down from the 80s where they had been at for a good bit, and now they're in the high 60s, low 70s, depending upon if it's Brent or West Texas Intermediate. And I think the thing to look at, though, is, I saw a chart yesterday that, domestic pumping is like as high as it's ever been historically. Yet the Saudis and I forget the other country, they were like way down from where they normally are at. So they have restricted or OPEC for the most part has restricted their flow to keep the prices pretty high, because at some point we're going to have to, refill our strategic petroleum reserve. And because I think right now it's only sitting at like around, somewhere between 40 and 60%. So around half. And so to fill that back up is going to, meaning that, the U.S. is going to have to buy oil off the open market, because I don't think the producers domestically are just going to give it away. They don't just pump oil out of the ground for the goodness of their hearts. So I think that's what the Saudis and OPEC are counting on, is at some point, the U.S. is going to have to fill that back up, and which is on top of the 20 million barrels we use per day already. So, I think that's going to probably drive up prices. Maybe we'll be able to do it during a time of, recession or whatever the case may be. But, oftentimes those things don't work out the way we would like. All right. In August, headline producer prices increased. I already read that part. All right. Food prices rose by a modest 0.1%. Excluding food and energy, core prices rose 0.3% in August, with a 2.4% annual increase, close to the 2.5 figure from the previous year. Service prices drove the index higher, with a 0.4% increase in August and a 2.6% annual rise. In particular, final demand services, less trade, transportation, and warehousing, saw a 0.3% rise. Prices for goods remained unchanged in August and flat compared to a year ago, as rising non-electric cigarette costs were offset by lower energy prices. Looking ahead, trajectory of inflation will likely depend on the recovery in the services sector and changes in the money supply. The M2 money supply, after surging in 2020 and 2021, peaked in early 22 and remains down 3.1% from that high. A sharp increase in M2 could reignite inflation. The Fed must balance rate cuts carefully, avoiding an overreaction to economic challenges. Yeah, and actually lowering, Astros won. Lowering rates is actually an inflationary tactic, because you're making the creation of money and credit cheaper, and all that does is push up. In the long term, is going to push up the money supply. So we could lead to some more inflation, folks. So usually you lower rates or you start bringing rates down when the economy is in real trouble, or it's stagnating or whatever the case may be. But everyone out of Washington has been telling us how wonderful things are for the past 4 years. So, I guess that's, what happens when you got a Democrat in office and the media is basically on their team. All righty. Last up from Zero Hedge, Kamaflage, the Harris policy dump. So I know everybody's been crying and moaning that, Vice President Harris has not had policies on her website. I personally don't care. I don't think that any of the policies that, any of them are really going to do anything until, someone serious, really gets, takes over Washington and says, hey, we're firing everybody. We're just wasting money. It's basic, all these federal jobs are essentially daycare for people and, money laundering. All right. Let's see what this article had to say. All right. In Richard Porter's critique of the Harris-Walz campaign, he argues that their policies are vague and misleading. He describes the campaign as content-free, lacking substantive proposals, and defying traditional campaign norms by offering little concrete policy. Porter coins the term camouflage to describe how Kamala Harris uses Republican-friendly language to disguise her socialist policies. For instance, Harris claims she will create an opportunity economy and cut taxes. I'd more call it an opportunist economy, because, that's what she is. She's never really worked hard for anything in her life. She's pretty much gotten, handouts and hand-ups or we know how she really got those jobs in California. But, anyways, so let's dive back into this. But her actual plan involves increasing spending through tax credits rather than lowering taxes. Porter criticizes her proposal for building 3 million affordable homes by cutting red tape. I'm not sure what the federal government has to do with the red tape of building houses, because most of that stuff is red tape at the local, county, city, state level, while simultaneously increasing federal rent regulations. Because again, where does the federal government have any authority or jurisdiction over the rent that I might charge for someone on a property that I own? Please. He views this as contradictory and impractical, especially given her proposals to penalize companies and regulate landlords. What was that on my... Oh, the UPS guy. Hello, Mr. UPS dude. All right. Where will we... Getting down here at the bottom, Harris also focuses on supporting small businesses and increasing investment in minority-owned businesses. However, Porter points out that her plan involves expanding government control over business investment, which conflicts with her claims of supporting free enterprise. And because I think that what she says is that she's going to give away a $50,000 tax credit. It's not real money. It's a tax credit. So it comes off any profits that you have. And I mean, most small businesses really don't make a ton of profit because all of it goes out to, in payroll to the employees or payroll to the owner. So when it's all said and done, I mean, most businesses, unless they're saving up to invest in, buy property or buy materials or things like that, usually don't have a ton of, cash sitting around. I mean, this isn't Citibank, big, conglomerates. Yeah, they got tons of cash and stuff sitting around, but typically your small business, not so much. Porter argues that Harris's proposals, such as price controls on groceries and healthcare, would reduce supply and worsen inflation. I agree. He concludes that her policies are thinly veiled continuation of socialist ideas wrapped in conservative language to appeal to a broader audience, but ultimately ineffective and contradictory. And again, I mean, this goes out to, both, Team Red and Team Blue. Why are we fighting? Just split up the country. I mean, take the United States, break up the Republic. All you got to do is submit an amendment to, dissolve the federal republic. All agencies, if necessary, can go back to the states. And if states, feel that they need an ATF or a DEA or whatever, they can start it up themselves. They can join together with other states to create those alliances. Maybe, the red states join together and have a, maybe, America 2.0, and then, the blue states can have their, socialist paradises where everyone, gets everything that they want. So, I mean, again, let's give everybody what they want instead of fighting all the time. So, all right. Well, that's everything I had for today. If anyone needs anything from me, please go to DSAFinancialGroup.com. Yes, that's where you can go and get all your financial needs taken care of. So, all right. Well, hope everyone has a wonderful evening. Like I said, the Astros won, which made my day a little bit better. And, hope everyone has a great night. Talk to you later. Adios.